Good afternoon, Alex. Thank you for joining me on this Friday afternoon in the middle of peak visitor attraction season. I appreciate your time.
No problem at all. It's a pleasure to be here, Catherine. Thank you for the introduction.
So we masterminded this catch up and hopefully it becomes a regular thing. And you're going to tell us a bit about who you are personally and about Attractions IO as well. And the reason I suggested this to you is because you are probably the most knowledgeable person I know when it comes to attractions, especially theme parks. So hopefully this will become a regular catch up on all things attractions and experiences and what's exciting now, what's happened so far in the year, and maybe some of the rumors and whispers that you can tell us about as to what might be coming up soon. So without further ado, Alex, tell us a bit about who you are and your interest in this world.
Yeah, of course. I've been part of the attractions industry for the last 2 years for a couple of different companies. The last year, just Attractions IO. But myself personally, I'm a big time roller coaster enthusiast. So travel all around the world to ride the best roller coasters out there, but also just to experience lots of different attractions. I mean, when I was a kid, going to theme parks was always like my favorite day of either like a holiday or the year. I remember even my parents sort of, we did lots of good things like got good grades or, was just sort of helping out around the house. I'd earn little stars. And then eventually when I got enough stars, like, they'd take me to Chessington
I
and
love that.
um, that just all developed into sort of burning passion that I have now. I've currently visited 64 different theme parks worldwide and
Wow.
ridden through 393 different roller
Oh my
coasters.
gosh, you're so close to 400. What are you going to do to celebrate
uh,
that milestone?
so I've got a big America trip coming up in September to visit some big bucket list parks that I've never had the chance to visit before. And number 400, I'm hoping, will be Steel Vengeance, which is a roller coaster at Cedar Point in Ohio. Um,
Amazing.
commonly known amongst a lot of enthusiasts as the best roller coaster in the world, and
Wow.
it just, despite being open since 2018, I still haven't made my way there. So it's finally time to put that right and
Yeah.
get myself on that coaster.
I
So
love that the
fingers crossed.
400th is going to be a really important one as well. It's not a case of going back and doing a UK one or anything like that. You're traveling all the way to the States to go on one that's dubbed as one of the best in the world. So that's really exciting. And how about
Yeah.
Attractions IO, Alex? What brought you into that role? And for those who don't know, what does Attractions IO do?
Yeah, of course. So just to quickly introduce Attractions IO. So we're a mobile app platform for attractions. So that's anything from theme parks to zoos to resorts and even some events as well. And what the platform does is it sort of consists of two parts. So you've got your guest application, which enables you to travel around theme parks or whichever attraction that you're at. With wayfinding allows you to see queue times, make
Yeah.
purchases within the application, store your tickets offline. And so really what we want to do is we want to enhance every visit for every guest, make it really easy for them to get any information that they need uh, within just a couple of taps on their phone. And through that, we're then using all that information and putting it into our backend, which is called Connect, which is where you're collecting all of the data. So you're understanding, where's busiest in your park or what times, helping you to streamline operations, and starting to personalize each guest journey so that the push notifications or messaging that you're putting out to guests is unique dependent on their ticket, whether they're a family, whether they're a thrill seeker like me. Every single person is catered for within that experience. And that's what we're really trying to achieve. You might have used some of our apps before if you've been to any of the Merlin parks in the UK. So Alton Towers, Chessington, Legoland, or some of the larger zoos in the UK as well, like Chester Zoo and London Zoo as well. But we work with, I think it's around 84 attractions. I mean, we
Wow.
have new apps going live weekly at the moment, which is great and just continuing to expand. But yeah, that should give you a rough idea of who we are and what we do. And hopefully you'll get a chance to, if you haven't already, use some of our apps. at some point in the future.
I think I probably have without realizing. So that's interesting. And you're UK based, Alex. Is the whole team UK based, and how many are you?
So there's over 30 of us now. Again, we're hiring quite a lot at the moment. But I'm UK based myself. I live about 5 minutes down the road from Thorpe Park, which is natural as a roller coaster enthusiast. And most of the team is based in the UK, but I have some colleagues who are over in the US. I have some colleagues in Spain, in the Netherlands, and we're continuing to expand into sort of new regions. And it's really important that we've got sort of diverse staff as much as we have a diverse portfolio of attractions. Just making sure that we are looking after and creating this tailored experience that does work for every single guest, no matter where they're from. So obviously language is a big thing, making sure that everyone's got their language catered for on the app. And the sky's the limit really in terms of where this company is going to be in, say, sort of 5-10 years time, and I'm just very lucky to be part of this journey, and only came through a lot of poking of the CEO, asking if he had any sales roles going.
And good for you, because we met when I was in a previous role as well, and I know you were very much looking to break into the industry based on your personal passion for the visitor attraction section, and it's just brilliant to see how far things have progressed for you in the last 18 months, 2 years, and that hard work of building relationships in the sector and networking and making introductions and putting yourself out there has really paid off, and I'm really pleased to see that. And it sounds like Attractions.io is the perfect company for you to put all of those skills and all of that knowledge and love for the industry to good use. So it's certainly really good to see.
No, absolutely. I really appreciate that. And it has been a long road getting to the point that I am, but I think with my passion in the industry and my tech sales background, it just kind of made sense. And I've been a big fan of their apps for a long time before they even knew I existed. It's a bit of a dream come true.
Absolutely. And talking of bucket lists, before we move on, what's your non-theme park bucket list visit? Like, what else is on the list to go to that is outside of roller coasters but still within the visitor attraction sector?
I think San Diego Zoo is a huge one that I'd really like to visit. It's the largest zoo in the USA, with full safari attached to it, and just from what I've heard, and they are fortunately one of our customers as well.
Are they? Brilliant.
Fairly recently, but yeah, that's one that I've really wanted to do. There's some other attractions as well, like the world's largest zip lines, like over in like New Zealand and Asia. I mean, a lot of my trips are very much based around theme parks, but it's usually the case where if I go to a theme park, then we'll try and squeeze in some culture as well. There's a lot of historic attractions across Europe. We've spent a lot of time in Germany and mainland Europe, and being able to spend some time seeing some of the castles that they have on offer, and really getting ourselves immersed in that. It just takes a slight change of pace away from constant adrenaline that I have for the rest of each trip.
I mean, that must be exhausting, like going and doing lots of parks in a short space of time. Do you get like a come down almost afterwards?
There's something that we call like coaster fatigue, which is where you just eventually you get numb to it. It's like once you've ridden so many coasters over a short space of time, they all start to blend into one, and it's harder to sort of enjoy the sensations as much. So I always make a very deliberate point of putting sort of breaks in a trip. So especially in the US, where they're like long drives between each park, having it whereby it's day at a park, day off, day at a park, day off, trying to do it like that. Not only does it allow for a bit of respite, it also allows us to go and do some of those other attractions, like I mentioned, like historic attractions, or zoos, just ones where you're not putting your body through it on
that stress,
all those G forces.
Do you know, I'd never thought of that you need it's almost like being an athlete in a way, isn't it? You need that time off to recover in between. That's brilliant. It's such good insight, Alex. um okay, so let's talk about what's happening in the industry. What's been the big news that's been announced so far in 2024? What have all eyes been on so far this year?
So I don't, even though it's not technically 2024, I don't think you can talk about big news in the UK without talking about Universal in Bedford. Obviously, huge opportunity there for the UK to grow as a tourist
Yeah.
destination. And, I think that Universal will also make other parks sort of step their game up as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And we've already seen a huge slew of investment across, say, all the Merlin parks, but also other parks as well. Drayton Manor are building new roller coasters. Adventure Island are investing in rides. We've got Portland's Park who are putting in new rides as well. Everyone's trying to get their parks up to a standard where they will become a logical addition to a trip for when that potentially opens. And we've seen some huge headway with that already, even though it was only announced in December. There's been public consultations, and just the other week, I think it was the MP, Mohammed Yassin of Bedford, got a letter from the Lisa Nandy, who's the Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport in the UK. And she said that she's going to meet with Universal and try and discuss what the opportunities are there. So where in the UK we typically see a bit more red tape, it seems that there's a collective effort, not just from Universal themselves, but also with the government to try and make this project a reality.
It's interesting that you say that and draw the comparison to the way it will make other parks lift their game. And it's certainly been noticeable with people like Drayton Manor talking more about that Disney approach of having live entertainment in the park, trying to engage a slightly older and kind of tween and teenage audience. So you can see the ripple effect already, can't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, a huge statement from Drayton Manor, removing Apocalypse, which was the UK's tallest drop tower, and then putting in a family roller coaster. It really shows that they're shifting the demographic that they're focusing on. And I don't know, have you been to Drayton Manor yet to experience Gold Rush?
No, I haven't. And I have to confess something, Alex. I'm such a wimp. I mean, the photos I have of me on roller coasters from the ones that you purchase at the end are entertaining to say the least. And they make their money out of me every time because my family can't help but buy them because I pull such ridiculous expressions because I am so terrified. But tell me about it because I assume you have been on it.
Yes, yes. So it's a wonderful coaster. Obviously, much more meant for families rather than thrill seekers. But in terms of providing a step up for their guests, it's got a 1 meter height requirement. So you're starting to really cater to the younger guests and providing them with a more thrilling experience. And it's not just Drayton that we've seen this at. We've seen it. A great example is just this year we had 2 new roller coasters open at Thorpe Park over in Ireland. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Emerald Park. It rebranded not too long ago, and a lot of us are still trying to get the new head in the names. The new name in our heads. I mean, speaking to them directly, they've said that they have sort of kids correcting their parents when their parents call it Tato Park and go, no, it's Emerald Park. So the branding is targeting the next generation, which is great. I'm clearly starting to get on in my ears and have that ingrained. But they introduced 2 new roller coasters this year. I read a really great interview with Charles Coyle, the CEO, where he said that they were considering putting in a massive multi-launch coaster, really tall, really thrilling. And then the manufacturer that they ended up going with, Vekoma, said, well, for the money that you would invest into a huge multi-launch coaster, you could have one thrill coaster and one smaller coaster that sort of intertwine with each other.
Oh, wow.
Which again is so that what they're trying to do is create this next logical step for the kids as they're trying to brave the next new ride. And it's really fascinating to see how that decision came about. And not only then have they added more capacity to the park because they've got more time for people to be going on rides, they've also got another thrill coaster rather than just the one that they had previously for people like me who venture very much with thrills in mind.
So the perceived value in the visitor's mind just goes up and up, doesn't it? Because you've got that breadth of offering. So you can see why people are making those kind of decisions. It's interesting how that's really shifting. And in terms of what we're going to see in the second half of 2024 announced for 2025 and beyond, what do you think's coming up that we should be getting excited about?
So far, there's only been sort of a couple of announcements or a couple of rumors that are circulating that I think hold some weight. Firstly, and very obviously, Alton Towers is building something new. The speculation is it's a flat ride next to their new rebranded Nemesis. I was there on Sunday and saw all of the concrete footers being poured in. So construction is well on the way there. Also, we had Thorpe Park announce that they'd be opening up a new haunted house ride, which unfortunately are a little bit of a dying breed in the UK. So really looking forward to seeing that come to life. And then in further speculation, there's a lot of rumours around Thorpe Park potentially getting something. They're going to be removing one of their old rides, which has been standing but not operating for many years, Slammer, which is going to create a nice little space for them to build on. So we'll see what happens there. Obviously, I'm hoping that it's something huge and thrilling. But in terms of Thorpe Park specifically to cater to a wider demographic, they've just built the UK's tallest and fastest roller coaster. So really, they should be looking at something that's going to cater more to families, so that everyone's got more that they can do within the park, as opposed to there being this quite large gap like there is at the moment between sort of family rides and thrill rides.
And going back to the point about haunted houses being a bit of a dying breed, do you think they might make a resurgence? And if so, do you think that's influenced by some of the immersive experiences we're seeing, like Meow Wolf, like Wake the Tiger? Do you think that there's a correlation between the two?
I definitely think there's an element of that. I also think the bigger element is the fact that we're getting more and more scare events starting to crop up across the UK. I mean, if you find a large farm attraction now, if it doesn't have a scare event, it's almost an anomaly. So the fact that we've seen a huge increase in that, not only that, parks are deciding to do their own scare events, and they're cheaper to do than building a large permanent attraction. They drive a lot of additional revenue because you can have it whereby there's either an overall increase in the price of a day ticket for the day that there's a Halloween event on, or you can charge per scare attraction. For a lot of parks, Alton Towers, Thorpe Park, that's their busiest time of year, is the scare event. So having that, it just really not only does it add capacity to the park and provides value, but it probably makes companies less inclined to invest in traditional ghost trains. And more focus their energies on that, because they know that there's a really easy direct revenue driver there.
It's interesting, actually, isn't it? And I have childhood memories of going to the haunted house at the Tibidabo in Spain, and being absolutely terrified as Freddy Krueger jumped out on me with a chainsaw and running, screaming for the door. It was the most terrifying experience I think I've ever had. And I think now, whilst these scare events aren't IP driven, they are definitely IP inspired. And last year we saw scare events inspired by things like Squid Games and that kind of thing. And you're right, we're going to see more and more of that kind of experience, temporary experience, aren't we, at theme parks and farm parks.
Absolutely. And it's very interesting what you're saying about IP as well, because the perceived value of bringing in an IP and getting people excited about a maze, like, it really is the thing that's going to drag in a lot more custom. 100%. And so Thorpe Park, I can't remember when this, sorry, I keep going back to them as example because it's the one I'm most familiar with. But them bringing in, I remember they're bringing, like, they had the Saw maze, which was attached to
Yeah.
Saw the Ride. They had
Yeah.
Seven as a maze and stuff like that. And those were really busy years for them at Fright Nights. And whilst, yes, a new maze will always generate interest, having an IP attached to it will definitely bring in new footfall. I think what you'll see with original ideas is that the fans of the park will go, they will experience those, and they will bring more people in, and it'll be more of a word of mouth type thing. Whereas for the huge marketing campaigns, IPs are perfect for that, to
Yeah.
drag in the completely new audience.
Yeah, true.
So I Thorpe Park have got a unannounced maze for this year that
Okay.
they're going to be making for Fright Nights, and I don't think it will be an IP. Otherwise, I would have thought they started to market it already.
Yeah.
I think it would be original, but huge fan of original attractions. So, and they did a wonderful job with Stitches, which was last year's original maze. So I'm really excited to see what they come up with there. But in terms of the wider audience that they have, and the general population, IP is going to be always, I think, the strongest way to
Yeah.
attract people to
Yeah.
those events.
And talking of new openings and things coming up, I expect you get lots and lots of kind of press invites and preview event invitations. Which one will you be 100% accepting and be there with bells on? What are you excited about seeing for the first time when it opens?
I mean, so I will definitely be at the Fright Nights press event for that one. But we've had a lot of the 2024 openings have already taken place.
Yeah.
So now we're starting to look at 2025 for new stuff in the UK. But in terms of this year, I was at the Hyperia press event. So, UK's tallest and fastest roller coaster, in my opinion, the best roller coaster in the UK.
Oh,
And a truly outstanding ride, one that everyone should give a go if they can. Gold Rush at Drayton Manor.
yeah.
I was there for that press event. Emerald Park over in Ireland, again there for that press event. And I'd say that it's really hard for me to say, there's one that I was more excited for than the other,
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
than Thorpe Park, because I sort of feel like
It
I
feels
have
like your
such an
baby.
attachment.
Yeah.
It does feel like my baby. I watched it from when it was mud,
Yeah. Yeah.
and going there, like, even during the off season, just walking down Monk's Walk, which is a footpath that runs along the back of Thorpe Park, just
Yeah.
walking and watching it grow was just an experience I'll never forget.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people get to do that. So
Absolutely.
I was truly grateful. And even when it ran its first test ride, I had like 2 hours between meetings, and we got the little note that it was likely to test soon. So we jumped in the car, 5 minutes drive there, sprint to the back of the park.
That's dedication.
And it was brilliant because there was about 200 or so
Oh,
enthusiasts there.
wow.
We were parked up next to, I'm sure you won't mind me shouting him out, Sean Sandbrook from Theme Park Worldwide,
Yeah.
who's quite a big YouTuber in the space. And we're absolutely loving it. He was tearing up while it was going, and I
Wow.
wasn't far off. So that was really special. But I'm always going to be excited for attractions expanding. I'm always going
Yeah.
to be excited for them bringing in new hardware. And I think, being based in the software space myself, I know the impact that software can have. And I think that where the software, especially when it comes to on-site experiences, can influence a guest, it's going to make their guest have a better day and help to increase that brand loyalty. But it's rare that software will be the reason that a person visits a park. In terms
Absolutely.
of the
Yeah.
software alone,
Yeah.
my app sends me a push notification saying, "Hey, check out this ride. It's the new ride that I'm going to go for."
Yeah. Yeah. The software is just the conduit, isn't it? But without that, you miss out on that opportunity to build that personalization and get that person really excited and engaged. And I mean, it's such a huge part of what I do with customers and partners is how you build that community around the brand. And theme parks are an absolutely golden example of that, aren't they, with the loyalty, with the enthusiasts that they've created, and that knock-on effect on the wider public, that kind of magnetism that it has when a new ride opens is fascinating. I think very powerful in terms of marketing and UGC and all of those kind of things. Shifting gear a bit to the trade side of things, where will you be with Attractions IO that I might bump into you in person over the next couple of months? Which events are you likely to be at from a trade perspective?
So I will be at both IAPA in Europe, in Amsterdam in September, and also at IAPA in Orlando over in the US in November. Along with that, it's not just theme parks we work with, so I'll be also attending the European Zoo Association show in Leipzig in October, and I'll be there for, I think it's 8 days. It's quite a long one.
That is a long one.
Yeah, it really is. So it's my first time there, so I'm really excited to see what it's all about. And I think that we've got an evening at Leipzig Zoo and things like that to look forward to. So yeah, really excited to get some of those in. But the IAPAs are always fantastic in terms of just learning about what the next developments are in the industry. There's no place better to be, and I think there's going to be some really big announcements coming up.
Okay.
I think we're going to potentially, and it might be a little bit early for this, but potentially learn a little bit more about Universal in the UK at this year's IAPA. And there's two very major projects on the international side that we might have some news around, which is Epic Universe, which is over in Florida, touted to open next year, and then as well Six Flags Qiddiya in Saudi Arabia. I'd say like those are the two biggest projects internationally, and really what we're waiting for is what days is it going to open, and when can we get ourselves out there? How do we get those tickets? And
the knowledge you must bring back to Attractions IO as well, being an enthusiast personally as well as professionally, because it's a different level of engagement, isn't it? If it's as much as most of us in the attractions industry adore our jobs, if you have that personal level of passion for the attractions and the visitor experience itself, you can add so much more value to your role, because you can see things from that total 360 perspective. They must be delighted having you as part of the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And a big part of my role is going out and visiting these attractions, and looking at their digital experience through the lens of a guest. Obviously, I know all about their roller coasters already, but unless you actually go somewhere, you can't see what is the quality of their application that they're using on site. What is the general guest sentiment. Sometimes I'm a very chatty person, very much an extrovert, and if I see someone using an app in a queue and I'm stuck next to them for an hour, I will ask them, what do you think? Like, just to sort of get some feedback. And then when I then go and speak to the parks, or if they come up to our booth at IAPA, and I can say, not only have I been to your park, I've spoken to your guests as well, I've used your application. So and we always come from it from the perspective of a consultant. So I'm never going to be there saying, trying to do the hard sell or anything like that. We want to help these parks create a great customer experience. And if you've already got a great app, well, there's not, whilst I know that there's always areas that can be improved, like I'm not going to say, no, you have to have a better solution. We just want to help every park, and helping guests have a better day starts with the operators. If the operators are enjoying running the park and enjoying working with their software and the providers that they have,
so right,
it's going to feed through.
It's a much more authentic way of doing things, isn't it? And like you say, it has to start with the operations of the business, and that has to be working properly for you to ever get close to exceeding the guests' expectations. And I just love seeing what a massive smile it puts on your face when you talk about that relationship and your role within those relationships. It's yeah, I feel very privileged, Alex, to have a chance to chat to you in a bit more detail, because we've never really had a chance to chat in this much detail before, and I've certainly found it fascinating. And I already knew from getting to know you over the last couple of years that you are just a font of knowledge when it comes to the industry, especially the roller coaster side of things. And I'm really hoping we can do this again regularly, because the exciting thing for both of us is there is so much news coming out in the industry at the moment, and so much more to come. So I feel like we're always going to have loads to talk about, which is good.
Definitely. And yeah, if you start a conversation with me about theme parks or roller coasters or attractions, you will not shut me up, I promise.
Well, that's a good problem to have. And I think when we publish this episode, we're going to have lots of people really keen to hear more from you, and I think they're going to really enjoy listening back to this first conversation that we've had. So thank you very, very much indeed, Alex, and thanks to Attractions.io as well for giving us the time to put this together, and for the opportunity for it to hopefully become a really regular catch up that we can share with the wider community.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the invite, Catherine.
I'll speak to you soon.
I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Alex.
Bye.